I'm your host, Matt Talk Sports, and today we will be discussing why I think the Las Vegas Raiders will be playoff contenders for this up-and-coming season, and I will be breaking this down into 3 categories, with this first category being the coaching staff. Now you have defensive coordinator Patrick Graham and head coach Antonio Pierce. And just a little background for Patrick Graham. He has had 15 years of experience for being a defensive coordinator, and Antonio Pierce was an interim head coach for the Raiders last season, as they fired their former head coach McDaniels, but also they did pretty good for the remainder of this season as the Raiders went 5-4 record without having their old head coach, and they scored 63 points, tying the most scored points they've ever had in franchise history in a game versus the Chargers. So all in all, this coaching staff can face tough challenges and still do pretty good when a time of uncertainty comes. Now, moving on from the coaching staff, we are going to talk about this absolutely loaded offense. And first, you have to take a look at this quarterback room, because you have Aiden O'Connell and recently signed in free agency Gardner Minshew Mania, all of that. And this brings so much to the table, as you can let Aiden O'Connell just sit and learn from Gardner Minshew, or you can draft a quarterback in the draft and basically do the same thing and let him sit. There's just a whole lot of options for the Raiders at the quarterback position, and not even mentioning they have a really, really good receiving core, as they have Devontae Adams paired up with Jacoby Myers, but they sadly lost Josh Jacobs. But I really do think this team will be dangerous on offense, and I expect this team to be absolutely dangerous on offense. Alright, next up, we are going to talk about this Raiders defense, because it's actually pretty stacked. But before I get into that, I just want to talk about the Raiders defense as a whole, because they have only allowed 19.5 points per game, which is one of the best defenses in the NFL this past season. Just huge bravo to that defense. And they also only allowed 330 yards averagely, which is 15th in the league, and that is also pretty good. And they also got a pretty good weapon on defense for this defensive line, because they grabbed up Christian Wilkins. Now, Christian Wilkins having 10 sacks, 39 solo tackles, 12 assists, and a PFF defensive grade of 74.9. A run defensive grade of 71.5, and a pass rush grade of 72.8. And Christian Wilkins obviously will be paired up with the GOAT Max Crosby, as Max Crosby has had 14.5 sacks this year, and in total he's had 52 sacks his whole career. And this year was an up year, I'd say, for Christian Wilkins. And there's just a few, I'd say, breakout players this year that are already on the Raiders defense, as you have Robert Spillane with 82 solo tackles, 66 assisted tackles, and 3.5 sacks. That's pretty good for him. And he also led the team with the most interceptions, having 3 interceptions, which totaled for a 53 yards returned in total from all 3 of those interceptions. And there are still some really good defensive players on free agency, as Justin Simmons, a safety, is still in free agency. They could pick him up, boost that defense a lot. They also have Kyle Duggar, a safety from the Patriots. He wasn't quite as good as he was in past years, but he'd still be a decent, I guess you could put him as a backup. And then you have Kyle Van Noy. Obviously, he's an edge from the Ravens, and you can pick him up for cheap. He's showed that he has plenty of juice left in his career, even if he's 33. So that's definitely another good pickup. If they can get that, this defense will be beyond stacked after that. And this basically brings us to the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Trying to hit 100 subscribers. So if you could subscribe if you enjoyed, please, that'd help a lot. Share with your friends and family. And peace.